So, good morning, one and all. In the last class, we have seen sampling. What is sampling? So, it is simple definition of sampling is discretization of time. Okay, the simple definition of sampling is discretization of time, which means so if you take any signal, generally we have a time axis and amplitude axis. What are the two axes that are present in the signal? Time axis and the amplitude axis. Now here we are discretizing the time axis. So that is done by a process called sampling. Now we have seen how to sample a signal. So is ideal sample where we multiply our m of t with a train of impulses. It is a periodic signal with a period Ts. Ts is called sampling period or sampling interval. Obviously, so 1 by Ts is nothing but Fs is called sampling rate or sampling frequency. Okay. Now this is a sampling process. So generally we take continuous time signal, we multiply with train of impulses, you get a sampled signal. So here the sampled value is this m of 0, it is m of Ts, m of 2 Ts, m of 3 Ts, so on so on. So these are the sampled signal. So if you observe very carefully here, so this axis is discretized, which means so here T is defined only when it is equal to 0 at Ts, at 2 Ts, at 3 Ts, at 4 Ts. In the same way at minus Ts, minus 2 Ts, so on so on. Now, so the time T is discretized, but the amplitude is still continuous. Don't think that amplitude is also discretized. No. Here amplitude is still continuous only. The only thing that is being discretized is time. Okay, here why? Because so time is fixed. It is 0, Ts, 2 Ts, minus Ts. But we don't know what is amplitude. These are values are still continuous in range. Okay. So why? Because so if you take signal like this, if you sample with this, you get these sample values. Suppose if signal is like this. So what happens? So if you take the sampled values, you get different sample values, right? Something like this. Okay. So if the signal changes, the sample values will be different. But what about time? Time is always 0, Ts, 2 Ts, so on so on. So time will not change. Only thing is the sample values will change depending upon the input m of t. So that's why here amplitude is not discretized. Amplitude may have any value, but here time will be only from 0 at Ts, at 2 Ts, so on so on. Okay. Now, so because of sampling, there will be some distortion. Obviously, you can observe very clearly. So this is what is the original signal, but we are transmitting this signal. Okay. So obviously there is some loss of information, or there would be some kind of distortion. Only thing is we try to minimize the distortion. So these are some mathematical explanations, and this is a very important Fourier transform pair you must remember, and these are some mathematical insights. So this is the spectrum of sample signal for various cases, case 1, case 2, case 3. So the spectrum will be depends upon what is Fs. Now this is a sampling theorem statement, so you must remember. So for perfect reconstruction or for perfect recovery, your Fs must be greater than or equal to 2 into Fm. Okay. So this must be remembered. Now this is a reconstruction. So where reconstruction means, I told you already, so getting the continuous time signal from discrete time signal, from this to this. Okay. Now, so let me go back. Now this is sample. This is what reconstruction. How we do reconstruction? So we pass this sampled spectrum through a low pass filter with a bandwidth same as Fm, or you can also use Fs by 2. Okay. Now with the magnitude how much? Ts. That is also very important. So here we use the low pass filter that we are using is having a spectrum like this. Here this is Fs by 2, it is also Fs by 2 with a magnitude Ts. I told you why it should be Ts, because in the spectrum, so here it is not 1, here we have Fs. Okay. So Fs into Ts how much? 1. Please remember this. Fs into Ts is what? They are opposite of each other, no? Fs is 1 by Ts, so on so on. So Fs into Ts is what? Equal to 1. Now, so here this is what the spectrum, this is sampling theorem, this is a reconstruction. Now, so this is what the frequency response of a low pass filter with a magnitude Ts, and the ranges from minus fs by 2 to fs by 2. Okay. Now, so if it is rectangular in frequency domain, it should be sinc in the time domain. So this is a sinc function. So you must remember, this is a standard form of sinc, and this is the impulse response of the low pass filter. Sinc FST is a impulse response of the low pass filter. Now we will see how to reconstruct in the time domain. So I have done some inverse Fourier transforms, so and so. So these are simple calculations. You can go through later. Now, so this is what we are getting as m of t in the time domain after reconstruction. This is a reconstruction of m of t in the time domain. Now, so what you are getting? You are getting shifted versions of sinc functions. Okay. So suppose if fs is 1, let us take. For example, if the sampling rate is 1, for example, what happens? M of 0 sinc t plus m of ts sinc t minus 1 sinc t minus 2, so on so on. Okay. Now this is about weighted and shifted versions of sinc pulses. Okay. Now, so here this is sinc, normal sinc function. Let us take sinc t. So what is the property? It is unit area, and it is maximum when t equal to 0. When t equal to 0, it is a maximum that equal to 1, and whenever t equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on in the same way, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, and so on, it is 0. I have written here. So a sinc pulse is as a unit area, sinc pulse passes through 0 at all positive and negative integers. That means when t equal to plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, so on. But at t equal to 0, it has a maximum value of 1. Okay. Now I have taken a sinc pulse. It is maximum at t equal to 0. Okay. It is a shifted version of sinc pulse. So it is maximum at t equal to 1. Okay. Now, so here I have taken shifted versions of sinc pulses. So here at each and every time, suppose at t equal to 0, this is maximum. How much is the maximum? 1. So at t equal to 0, remaining sinc pulses are 0. At t equal to 1, what is happening? So this is maximum. Correct? Whatever remaining pulses, remaining sinc pulses, they are 0. At t equal to 2, so this is maximum. Whatever remaining pulses, they are 0. Which means at each and every integer, here, at each and every integer, what happens? Only one of the sinc pulses will be 1. Remaining will be 0. You can observe very clearly here. Okay. So what I want to say is, at each and every integer of t here, what is happening? So only one sinc pulse will be having maximum value that equal to 1, but remaining sinc pulses are becoming 0. You can see very clearly. At 2, all are 0. Here I have not drawn. So if you draw like this, at 3, at 4, at 5, and at 6, so only one of the sinc pulses will be having a value 1. Remaining will be 0. Okay. Now here, so I have written this m of t. What is that? Suppose t equal to 0. Substitute t equal to 0 here. What happens here? What happens? Sinc 0. What is sinc 0? Sinc 0 is 1. Okay. Now at t equal to 0, this is 1. Means sinc 0 is 1, no? So that is 1. So m of 0. But what about this? When t equal to 0, what happens here? Sinc minus 1. When t becomes 0, sinc minus 1. This sinc minus 1. This is 0. When t equal to 0, sinc fst means this is 0, sinc minus 2, it is also 0. Okay. Means whenever t equal to 0, this is only present. So remaining sinc pulses will vanish. In the same way, when t equal to 1, so this second term will be present, remaining terms will be 0. At t equal to 2, so this term is present, remaining things will be 0. Okay. Now, so at every integer of t, generally only one of the sinc pulses will be present, that is maximum, and remaining will be 0. Now here, so when it comes to in this example, so at each and every ts, I can say at each and every ts, what is happening? Only one of the sinc pulses is present, and remaining sinc pulses will be 0. You can clearly see here. What is happening here? So at 0, this is the dashed lines are sync pulses. Now when t equal to 0, so only this sync pulse is maximum, remaining sync pulses are 0. So when t equal to 1, so you can see very clearly here. So when t equal to 0, only one sync pulse is maximum. Okay. When t equal to ts, only one sync pulse is maximum, remaining things are 0 here. In the same way, so at 2ts, 3ts, 4ts, 5ts, minus ts. So at each and every ts interval, so only one of the sync pulses will be having maximum value, that is 1, and remaining thing will be 0. Okay. So this is what you can observe. So all these dashed lines are sync pulses, or sum of shifted versions of sync pulses. Now these sample signals and these are reconstructed signal. So these are samples and this is a reconstructed signal. Okay. Now what is the original signal? M of t. So it can be something like this. We have shown now. So this is a M of t. Okay. So this is how the reconstruction will happen in case of time domain. Okay. So we are explaining this by using a sync functions or sync pulses. So these are the things. Now here, so I have taken some cases to illustrate the effect of sampling. Now, so first thing is I have taken critical sampling, which means fs is equal to 2fm. Okay. What is fs equal to 2fm? So I have taken m of t, cos 60 pi t. M of t is what? Cos 60 pi. This is m of t. What is the frequency of the signal? 30 Hz. So fs equal to 2fm means 2 into 30, 60 Hz. So what is fs? Sampling frequency. So I am taking sampling frequency equal to twice the message frequency, or twice the highest frequency component of message signal. So this is 60 Hz. Now here, so this is your continuous time signal and this is a sampled signal. Okay, and this is a reconstructed signal. So continuous time signal, sampled signal and reconstructed signal. Okay. So this is what is happening in case of critical sampling. Now, so let us draw sync pulses of the above example. Now here, so if you observe very carefully, so at this sample only one sync pulse is having maximum value and remaining sync pulses are 0. Now here at this sampled value, so it is having value maximum. Maximum can be plus 1, minus 1. Okay, it is having value minus 1. So remaining are 0. All sync pulses are 0. Only one is having non-zero value. This is only non-zero. So remaining are all 0. In the same way here, at this impulse, at this sample value, what is happening? Only one sync pulse is present and remaining are 0. Here also, only one sync pulse is maximum and remaining all 0. So like this. Now, so if just join these peaks of the sync pulses, you get a reconstruction. What I do here, I will just join these peaks of the something like this. So I'm sorry. So just join them properly. Okay. Now, so this is what the reconstructed signal. So just join all the peaks of the sync functions. Okay. Now, so this shows two curves. They are one is your this dotted line is your message signal and this solid line is your reconstructed signal. So more or less they are matching with each other. Okay. So this is called reconstruction. Now, so that is case 1 here. Please remember I have taken a case where fs is equal to 2fm. Okay. When, so oversampling, we call oversampling. Previous case is called critical sampling. When fs is greater than 2fm, let us see what happens. So fs equal to 3fm. fs is 3fm means more than 2fm. So I told you, same example. What is fm? 30 Hz. 3fm means 90 Hz. Here this is the sample signal. Now what do you observe? Simply, so Fs is more means you're taking more samples. Okay, so that is a literally means Fs is having more value means you're taking more samples. Why? Because, so just think like that. If Fs is more, that the frequency is more, what about Ts? That is 1 by Fs. Okay, that will be very, very less. Okay, so means the sampling period is very, very less. So when the sampling period will be very, very less, what happens? You take more samples in the given time period. Okay, suppose, so let us take this period is 1 second. Okay, so after every 1 second we are getting sample. Suppose if period is 2 seconds, what happens? You get only half of the samples, isn't it? Okay, so if Ts is less means you get more samples, because so in the same given period we will be taking more number of samples. Okay, that is a simple meaning. So taking Fs value more means take more samples, or Ts will be very, very small. Fs is very, very large means Ts will be very, very small. Now, so this is the sink function spectrum, sink function diagram. Sorry. So here what is happening again? At this point only one sink is maximum, remaining sinks are 0. At this point only one sink is maximum, remaining are 0, so on, so on. You just add all the peaks of the sinks, you get the reconstruction. Okay. Now, so here this is the message signal, I mean original continuous time signal, and this is the reconstructed signal. So they are almost similar. Okay, there is no difference at all. There is slight difference, but you can neglect that. You can clearly see, so they are all simply matching with each other. So our message or continuous time signal and the reconstructed signals are matching with each other. Okay, so here this is a case 2 where I have taken this case, right, where Fs is more than 2 Fm. Okay, that is called oversampling. So the first case is what? Critical sampling, where Fs is exactly equal to 2 Fm. Okay. Now, so let us go to the last case. This is called undersampling, where Fs is less than 2 Fm. Already you studied in the last class where if Fs is less than 2 Fm, so reconstruction is not possible. Okay. So otherwise, what the problem with Fs is less than 2 Fm? So here I am taking Fs equal to 1.2 Fm. So 1.2 Fm is less than 2 Fm, no? Correct? Now, so Fm is 30 hertz only. I am taking same example. Here I am taking, what I am doing is, I am taking same continuous time signal. So in the first case, I have sampled with rate Fs equal to 2 Fm. In the second case, I have sampled rate with Fs equal to 3 Fm. That is more than 2 Fm. In the third case, I am sampling with Fs equal to 1.2 Fm. That is less than 2 Fm. Now here, what is sampling rate will be 36 hertz. Now here you can observe very clearly, I am taking only very less number of samples. Okay. Now what happens? This is the sink pulse. So add this add this sample, one sink pulse, add this sample. You just add them. I mean, just draw like this. What do you get? You get like this. Okay. Now what is the difference? So actually, so these are the differences. This is the message signal. Okay, this is a cause signal. Now this is a reconstructed signal. So they don't match in any way. So this is what should be the output. Output should be a cause function, more or less. But we are getting something like this. Okay. So this is not at all a faithful reconstruction. So that's why. So when you take Fs less than 2 Fm, so reconstruct will not be correct. So that's why always go for Fs is greater than 2 Fm, or at least take Fs equal to 2 Fm. That's why we always say for proper reconstruction, make sure that your Fs is more than or greater than or equal to 2 Fm. Either take 2 Fm or take more than 2 Fm. So if take Fs equal to 2 Fm, that is called Nyquist rate. So please remember that. If Fs is equal to 2 Fm, so that is called Nyquist rate. So in the question sometimes they mention the sampling rate is same as Nyquist rate. By default we assume that is 2 into Fm. Okay. Now this is about sampling. Okay. Okay, so that is about sampling and reconstruction. So what are the problems of sampling we have seen? So that is about sampling. Now let us go to the some other concept. So that is called quantization. Okay. Now this is what ADC. ADC means analog to digital converter. You might have seen these kind of ICs in the laboratory. So there is a IC called ADC IC. So if you give input to the IC as continuous time signal, output will be some kind of digital signal. So here, what is the difference between discrete time signal and digital signal? They are not same. They are different. They are different actually. Okay. So let us see what happens. Okay. Here, so here I am taking first of all. So this is a sampling. So input to the sampler is analog signal. Okay. So analog signal in the sense it has continuous time and continuous amplitude. Okay. So if that is sampled, if that is given to the sampler, what happens? I told you already. Sampling means discretizing the time. Okay. Now after sampling, you get a discrete signal. So x of t becomes x of n. Continuous time signal becomes discrete time signal. So time will be discretized here, but amplitude is still continuous. Please remember this. Okay. So this is the time, continuous time becomes discrete, but amplitude is still amplitude only, still continuous only. Now, so next, so we do something called quantization or quantizer. Now what is the job of the quantizer? So quantizer job is to what? Discretize the amplitude. So what is the job of the sampler? Discretize the time. What is the job of the quantizer? Discretize the amplitude. So if both are performed together, if you do sampling and as well as quantization, what will happen? So sampler will discretize the time, quantizer will discretize the amplitude. If both are discrete, that is called a digital signal. Okay. Now, so in analog signal, both are continuous. In discrete time signal, time is discrete, amplitude is continuous. In digital signal, both are discrete. So generally, in the digital signal, we use encoding. So to get the sequence of ones and zeros. So this is called digital data. Generally, we represent like this 1 0 0 1 for example. So you get a sequences of ones and zeros. So that is finally a digital signal. Always a digital signal means sequence of ones and zeros. Okay. Now, so this is very important diagram when it comes to analog to digital converter. So what are the components of ADC? We have a sampler, quantizer and encoder. Encoder also has some got n-bit encoder, which means suppose if we use n equal to 2-bit encoder means what? You get something like 0 0 0 1, correct? 0 1 1 0 1 1. You know all these things already. If it is 3-bit encoder means what happens? Each and every signal will be encoded using 3 bits. Suppose if it is 3-bit encoder, what do you get? 0 0 0 0 0 1 so on 1 1 1, something like that. Okay. So that is when it comes to encoding. So the only thing is simple definition of sampling and quantization is sampling means discretizing the time. So quantization means discretizing the amplitude. If you perform both operations on a signal, suppose if you take a continuous time signal, which means, so if you take analog signal x of t, sample it, quantize it and encode it, you get a what? Digital data or digital signal, which is something like this. Okay. Now, so this is about ADC. Clear? Okay. So here, so analog signal means both are continuous, time as well as amplitude. So discrete signal means time is discrete, amplitude is continuous. Digital means both are discrete. Okay. What do you mean by discrete? Actually, I told you discrete means some finite set of values. Okay. Here, suppose in this signal, so what are the time instances? It is defined at 0 actually. At this time 1 2 3 4 or maybe one more extra 5. We have only 5 time instances. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Not more than that. So time axis is having finite number of values. What about amplitude? Amplitude only 2. What are they? This is +1. This is -1. So there are no other choices for amplitude. Amplitude either it should be +1 or -1. So that is the meaning of discrete. You take any digital signal, generally we write 1 0 or +1 -1. Okay. So here there are no other amplitudes are possible. So only two amplitudes are possible. How many amplitudes are possible? Only 2 amplitude levels are possible. So that is the meaning of discrete. Time also discrete. Only we have very finite set of time instances, maybe 0, ts, 2ts, so on, so on. Okay. So that is simple meaning of having a discrete set of values. Now here, so x of t generally we write like this. Okay, how we write like this. So x of t equal to sin 2 pi of t when t equal to 0.1, 0.11, so on, so on. This is a continuous time signal or analog signal. Now this is a discrete signal where n equal to 0, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, so on, so on. This is a discrete time signal. Okay, that is simple definition of mathematical definition of analog signal and discrete time signal. Now, so we'll study what about quantization. That is also very important. You should know what is the quantization. Just now I have told you. So discretization of amplitude is called quantization. Discretization of time is called sampling. So these are the very standard definitions. You don't need any other definitions than this. Those are enough. Simple things. Okay. Next. So how to perform quantization? So I will tell you about this quantization a little bit later. So rounding of the sampled values to the nearest quantization level. So just remember this. I will come to this later. So quantization is nothing but so rounding up the value to the nearest level. Anyway. Now so we have to perform the quantization operation. Okay. How we perform? Like this. Okay. Now so here what is this is q is a quantization function. What is q? Quantization function. So here what is input to the quantizer? Please, x. What is x? Sampled value. What is the output of the quantizer? xq. What is xq? Quantized value. Now so please make a note of this. To the quantizer, what is the input? Sampled value. So x is the input to the quantizer. X is what? Sampled value. What is the output of the quantizer? xq. What is xq called? Quantized value. So input is sampled value, output is quantized value. Okay. Now how it quantizes depends upon this function q. Okay. Let us see how to quantize a signal. So here we have a L number of discrete set of values or quantization levels. What do we have? We have a L number of quantization levels. Okay. We will see everything about quantizer a little bit later. Now. So here first of all let us discuss a uniform quantizer. There are two types of quantizer, uniform quantizer and non-uniform quantizer. So we will study about uniform quantizer in the first attempt. Now here why it is called uniform quantizer? Why? Because the quantization levels are uniformly spaced. We will come to know about this later. Just remember this. What are L? L is a number of quantization levels. What is L? Is a number of quantization levels. Okay. Now, so how to quantize a sampled value? Please remember, I told you here. So here, this is the ADC. No. First we take analog signal. We sample it. If sample a signal, you get sampled values. Those sampled values will be given to the quantizer. Okay. Now it will quantize the signal. Next. We do encoding. Finally, you get the digital signal or a sequence of ones and zeros. Okay. Now, so here high k is called kth decision boundary. We will see what is that exactly. Now here, just remember x maximum and x minimum are maximum and minimum values of quantizer respectively. So they are called quantizer limits. Here quantization is just like comparator. If you look at the comparator, it has plus v set minus v set, right? So in the same way, so every quantizer has got some limits. It operates between these limits only. It operates within the limits only. So x maximum, x minimum are the quantizer limits or the range of values over which quantizer will be operating. Okay. So if n is the number of encoding bits, if n is the number of encoding bits, I told you already. So here we have encoder at the end of the ADC. So here if it is a 2-bit encoder, So what happens? You get 4 different values. What are they? 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, like that. Okay. Now if n is a encoding level, encoding value. So if n is the number of encoding bits, the number of quantization levels L equal to 2 power n. This is very, very, very important. So the number of quantization levels L equal to 2 power n. Okay. Suppose if n equal to 2, number of levels are 4. If n equal to 3, the number of levels are L equal to 2 power 3 equal to 8. Okay. Now here, so we have something called the step size of the quantizer delta. Okay. So how it is defined? Step size of the quantizer. Delta equal to x maximum minus x minimum by L. But what is L equal to? 2 power n. Substitute here. X maximum minus x minimum by 2 power n. Suppose if x minimum equal to minus x maximum, generally it happens. Why? Because symmetry. Suppose if you take any sinusoidal signal, it is symmetric. The maximum amplitude is 2. If the maximum amplitude is 2, what is the minimum amplitude will be? Minus 2. Correct? Isn't it? In the same way, so if it is symmetric, if it is operating over a symmetric range of values, let us take x minimum equal to minus x maximum, then delta will be equal to 2x maximum by L, or that equal to 2x maximum by 2 power n. This is the value of L if and only if, please remember, x minimum is equal to minus of x maximum. So what do you mean by that? Generally, so if you take any sinusoidal signal, so generally what is the maximum amplitude? 1. Minimum will be minus 1. So they are just negative of each other. In that scenarios, the delta, the step size will be equal to 2 into x maximum by 2 power n, or 2 into x maximum by L. Okay, you just remember these things. Now, so we have something called quantization error, Q. As I told you already, so if you look at the quantizer, input to the quantizer is sampled value. Output is a quantizer value. Okay, you can simple like this. If this is a quantizer, so it is taking input as x, the sampled value, output as xq. Okay, so output is xq, input is x. Sampled signal, quantized value. Sampled value, quantized value. Okay. Now we have something called quantization error, which is defined as q equal to x minus xq. Sampled value minus quantized value. You can take reverse also. There is no such a rule. Okay. X minus xq is a quantization error. There will be error, right? So we will see what is error, all those things. So in the uniform quantizer, delta is constant. What is delta? Delta is called step size of the quantizer. What it is called? Step size of the quantizer. Delta is called step size of the quantizer. So if the step size is a constant, that is called uniform quantizer. As I told you in the starting itself, there are two types of quantizers, uniform and non-uniform. If the delta is constant, it is called a uniform quantizer. Okay. So because the quantization is money to few mapping, I will say about this a little bit later. Now, but it is a irreversible process. This is very, very important. It is a irreversible process, which means now, so just now we have discussed sampling. So if you do a sampling, we have a reverse of that, that is called reconstruction or recovery. You can recover. But here, so it is irreversible. There is no recovery, there is no reverse of quantization. Once you quantize the signal, once you quantize the sampled value, that's it. You cannot do reverse of quantization. It is irreversible process. Why? Because why it is irreversible? It is a money to few mapping. It is not a one-to-one mapping. You know all those things. One-to-one mapping, one to money, money to one, all those things. Okay. So if it is one-to-one mapping, then only recovery is possible, or reverse is possible, or inverse is possible. You might have heard about these things in the mathematics. Suppose if there is a one-to-one mapping between all the values, then you can get inverse of that, isn't it? So if it is not one-to-one mapping, inverse is not possible, or it is called irreversible process. That means, so once you are done with this quantization, that's it. You cannot do reverse of that. So that is not required also. Okay. So that is the important difference between sampling and quantization. Sampling is reversible, we have seen already. So we can do reverse also. We can do sampling and we can do reverse of sampling, that is called reconstruction or recovery. Here there is no reverse for quantization. It is just only one way. So reverse is not possible. Okay. Now this is the quantizer. What is written? So here these are the quantizer interval. Suppose, so ik plus 1, these are ik plus 1, let us take. Okay, so these are called boundaries. So the midpoint of this interval, so the midpoint of the interval is called quantization level. So what is the kth quantization level? So midpoint of, which means LK is a kth quantization level. Here we have how many levels? 2 power n levels. Suppose if n equal to 2, we have 4 levels. Okay. So if n equal to 3, we have 3 levels. 8 levels. So and so on. So here, so the kth level will be, so the midpoint of the kth quantization interval. How to find midpoint? Suppose I am taking simple example. So let us take, this is 2, this is 3. So what is 2 and what is 3 is called boundaries. So what is the midpoint of 2 and 3? 2.5. What is this? 2.5, isn't it? Now 2.5 is called quantization level of this interval. If you take 1 and 2, you take 1 and 2. What is the midpoint of 1 and 2? Means half of this. 1 plus 2 by 2, 3 by 2. What is that? 1.5. So this is the quantization level. Okay. So in every quantizer interval, the midpoint is called quantization level. So that's written. In each quantization interval, the quantization level is the midpoint of the interval. Okay. So we'll see example. So this is what you must understand. So you may do like this. Suppose there can be like this. There can be something like this. Suppose you take something like this. So you take something like this. So here 1, 2, 1, let me take 2, 3, 4. What is this value? 1. What is value? 2. This is 3. This is 4. Now, so between interval 1 and 2, what is the midpoint? 1.5. So this is a quantization level in the interval 1 to 2. Between 2 to 3, what is the midpoint? 2.5. So 2.5 will be the quantization level for the interval 2 to 3. 3 to 4, what is the midpoint? 3.5. So 3.5 will be the quantization level in the interval 3 to 4, like that. Okay. So we'll see with an example. Okay. So let us see what is that quantization, how to do quantization. Okay. So example is, I'm taking it to be a 2-bit encoder. So if it is 2-bit encoder, by default L equal to how much? 2 power 2, that equal to 4, which means we have a 4 levels, 4 quantization levels. Okay, we will proceed. So m of t is given 2 cos 2 pi fmt. Okay, so this is t, this is fm, this is fs. Okay. Now everything is given. This is the message frequency. This is sampling frequency. Everything is given. This is a message signal. What is the amplitude of message signal? 2. The maximum amplitude of message signal is 2. Minimum amplitude is -2. Okay. Now, so as I told you, so L equal to 2 power 2. Why 2 power 2? Because n equal to 2. Here n equal to 2-bit encoder means what? It is n equal to 2 here. Okay. So L equal to 2 power 2, 4. So what is x maximum? 2. X minimum is -2. Right? Now, so what is delta now? Delta equal to, as I told you, so this is a special case where x minimum is minus of x maximum. So this is a formula of delta. What is that? 2 into x maximum by 2 power n. Okay, So that is the delta. So 2 into, what is the x maximum? 2 by 4, 1. So delta is 1. What is delta? Step size of the quantizer. Here the quantizer is of 2 bit, has 2 bit encoder. It has got 4 levels and the step size is 1. Okay, this is about, and x maximum is 2, x maximum is 2, x minimum is minus 2. Okay. Now here, so what I have done here is, first of all we should do sampler, no? First of all we should do sampling, correct? Now this is the m of t. What is m of t? 2 cos 2 pi fm t. Fm is 250 kilohertz. Okay. So what is the Fm is 250 kilohertz? This is t as 4 microseconds. Anyway, so this is the m of t. Let us take for example. Okay. Now these are the, after sampling we get the sampled values. I have done sampling also. For example, I would just take it. Okay. Now, so this is the continuous time signal. This is the discrete time signal. After sampling, you get, these are samples. I have sampled with what rate? 7.5 times FM. What rate? 7.5 times FM. You multiply, you get this value. Fs equal to 7.5 into 250 kilohertz. You find out this, how much is Fs. Okay. Anyway, so we have done sampling, it is over. Now, I am taking some sampled values. What are sampled values I am taking? 1.38, minus 0.2, 1.6, 1. I am taking some of the sampled values from this sampled signal. From this discrete time signal, I am taking some of the sampled values. What are they? 1.38, minus 0.2, minus 1.6. I have taken few samples for example purpose. So there are so many samples, but I have taken around 4 to 5 samples. 4 to 5 sampled values. So the sampled values are x equal to 1, 1.38, minus 0.2, minus 1.6. For example, let us take. So this is the continuous time signal. So the discrete time signals. So in this discrete time signal, I have taken some sampled values for example purpose. Now, so let us see how to quantize the signal. Now here, so we know already there are 4 levels and the step size is equal to 1, x maximum is equal to 2, x minimum equal to minus 2. First of all, just draw like this. X maximum is minus 2, x minimum is plus 2. Draw these two boundaries because our quantizer operates between plus 2 to minus 2. The first draw this minus 2 and plus 2. These are called boundaries or decision thresholds. Next, what is the step size? 1. Then what do? You draw after a distance of 1. Minus 2, minus 1. Next, after minus 1, what is the distance of 1? 0. Next, 1. Next, 2. Now, so you maintain a gap of delta between all the boundaries. Delta equal to 1 here, that's why minus 2. After a distance of 1 means at minus 1 another boundary. After distance of 1 again at 0 another boundary. At 1 another boundary. At 2 another boundary. Here, so we have 4 intervals. 4 quantizer intervals. What are they? First interval from where to where? Minus 2 to minus 1. Second interval from where to where? Minus 1 to 0. Third interval from where to where? 0 to 1. Fourth interval from where to where? 1 to 2. You got 4 intervals, 4 quantizer intervals. Okay. So what are the boundaries? Minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2. Okay. How many boundaries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 boundaries. Please remember. 5 boundaries, but only 4 levels. Okay. So 5 boundaries you get 4 quantizer intervals and 4 levels. What is the level? I told you just now. Level is the midpoint of the quantizer interval. So what is the midpoint of minus 2 and minus 1? Minus 1.5. So these dashed lines represents the quantization levels. So how there are 4 levels. What is the first level? L1. What is that? Minus 1.5. Next level minus 0.5. Third level 0.5. Fourth level 1.5. So 4 levels. Here you can observe clearly. So what is the distance between these two quantization levels? Which means what is the distance between minus 1.5 to 0, minus 0.5? 1 only. So what is the distance between minus 0.5 to 0.5? Again 1. So what is the distance between 0.5 to 1.5? Again 1. What is 1? Delta. Actually delta is called step size of the quantizer. That is the difference between any two neighboring quantization levels or any two neighboring decision boundaries. Delta is nothing but so the distance between any two neighboring boundaries or any two neighboring quantization levels. Okay, so you try to find out that. Now that is about this can be a delta, this can also be a delta. Okay, so this is also delta. Not only that, so the distance between any two neighboring levels also delta, this is also delta. Okay, now so these are the levels, 4 levels. Now so as I told you, it is a 2-bit encoder. No, 2-bit encoder means how to encode. Suppose you get minus 1.5 value, the corresponding encoder is what? 0 0. What is encoder? 0 0. So next encoder is 0 1 1 0 1 1. This is encoding. Finally, you get a this sequence of ones and zeros at the output of analog to digital converter. Okay, so let us see what happens. So here I have taken a signal m of t, I have sampled it. Now I am applying these samples to this quantizer. Let us see how it quantizes. Okay, now so here I have shown these sampled values with the star mark, this brown color star marks, they are the sampled values. Okay, so here first of all, what is the first sample? 1. What is first sampled value? 1. Where is the 1? Where does 1 lie? That is also first you should identify. Which interval does 1 lie? Here, before going further, let me tell you. So these intervals are not having closed brackets. Here they are having open bracket also. So this interval is from where to where? Includes -2, excludes -1. This interval includes -1, excludes 0. This interval includes 0, excludes 1. This interval includes both 1 and 2. Okay, so you follow this interval very carefully. Otherwise, you will get ambiguity. There is a confusion. Okay, so let us take. Suppose 1. Where does 1 lie? Generally, so if you don't mention these intervals so specifically, where does 1 lie? Some may say it lies on this line. So let me ask you one question. Where does 1? Let us take 1 belongs to which interval? The question is the first sampled value 1 belongs to which interval? Which interval? So you may say 3rd or 4th. Correct? Because it is 0 to 1, it is 1 to 2. So the sampled value 1 may belong to 3rd interval or 4th interval. But here since I have given these intervals very, very specifically, that's why there is no ambiguity. Where does 1 lie? 1 belongs to 4th interval. Why? Because it is including 1 and including 2 also. But here 3rd interval does not include 1. It is open bracket. This is a closed bracket, this is open bracket. It includes 0 but excludes 1. Okay, that's why. So there is no ambiguity now. So if I write all are open brackets, what would happen? So if all are open brackets for this interval, what would happen? If I ask you where does 1 lie, you may get confusion. Either we should write 3rd interval or 4th interval. Okay, so without any ambiguity, I have mentioned all the intervals very, very clearly. Now there is no confusion. I can say this is the first sampled value. It lies on the boundary itself. Okay. Now, so here 1 belong to 4th interval, not 3rd interval. Okay, that should be understood. Now here, so this star is the first sampled value which lies on the boundary which belongs to 4th interval. Now, so that is a quantization means simply anything that lies between 1 and 2, any value, any sampled value which lies between 1 and 2 will be quantized to 1.5. Okay. Suppose if any value that lies between 0 and 1, if anything that lies between 0 and 1 will be quantized to which level? 0.5. If anything that lies between 0 and -1, that will be quantized to -0.5. If anything that lies between -2 and -1, it will be quantized to minus 1.5. So that is a quantization. Okay, so as I told you, one definition of quantization, what is that? So I told you quantization means, yeah, this is what quantization. So rounding off the sampled value to the nearest quantization level is called quantization. So rounding off which means what are we doing here? Okay, here, so if you observe very carefully, what I am doing here, suppose 1 is there, 1 belongs to 4th quadrant, it lies on the boundary, but so it does not belong to 3rd quadrant, I mean 3rd interval, it belongs to 4th interval. Okay, so which means we assume that it lies in the 4th interval. If anything lies in the 4th interval, it should be quantized to 1.5. Okay, that is the first quantization. Correct. Now we are rounding up the sampled value to the nearest quantization interval, nearest quantization level, that is 1.5. So for 1, what is the nearest quantization level? 1.5. So that's why we are rounding up it to 1.5. So don't think that rounding off means 1.5 should become 2. No. Here rounding off to nearest quantization level. Okay. So 1 is rounded off to 1.5. It is not general rounding off. Here we are rounding off the sampled values to the nearest quantization level. Here we are not rounding off to nearest integer. Please mind it. What is the quantization? Rounding off the sampled values to the what? Nearest quantization level. Here to the 1, the sample value 1, what is the nearest quantization level? 1.5 or 0.5 also possible, but so here 1 belongs to 4th quadrant. So we take only 1.5. So we quantize it to 1.5. Now 1 will be quantized to 1.5. Okay, so that is important thing. Don't think that so rounding off means if it is 1.5 we should make it 2. So for 1 it is already rounded off. No. We are rounding off to nearest quantization level, not to integer. Okay, that should be the difference. Okay, anyway. Now what is the next sample value? 1.38. Where does it lie? 1.38 it is also lies in the 4th quadrant. This is a 1.38. This star mark is 1.38. So there is no ambiguity here. Now the second sample value lies in the 4th quadrant. Correct? Now if anything lies in the 4th quadrant, it should be quantized to 1.5. There is no other thing. As I told you, if anything lies in between 1 and 2, if any sample value lies between 1 and 2, it should be quantized to 1.5. Okay? So both the first and second samples lies in the 4th quadrant, they will be quantized to 1.5. That's it. Over. Next. What is third value? Minus 0.2. Where does it lie? Minus 0.2 lies in which quadrant? Maybe second interval. Am I right? Let me tell you. Okay, maybe this is the minus 2.2, minus 0.2. Correct? Is it right? Okay. So here also it lies in the second interval. It lies between minus 1 and 0. So if anything lies between minus 1 and 0, it should be quantized to minus 0.5. Okay. So here minus 0.2 becomes minus 0.5. Over. Next. Last. Minus 1.6. Where does it lie? It lies in the first interval. There is no ambiguity. It lies between minus 1 and minus 2. Am I right? So it lies in the first interval. If anything lies, if any sample value lies in the first interval, it should be quantized to minus 1.5. This is the last sampled value. All these brown color stars are sampled values. Now I have taken two more sampled values. Suppose if the sampled value is 1.5, what happens? Suppose the sampled value is 1.5, what happens? 1.5 lies in the 4th interval. Otherwise 1.5 lies exactly on the quantization level. So no problem, it is 1.5 only. If the sampled value is same as the quantization level, output is same as quantization level. Okay. Suppose, so if the sampled value is 1.5, output is also 1.5. If the sampled value is 0.5, means what? It lies in the 3rd interval. If any value lies in 3rd interval, it should be quantized to 0.5. So output will be 0.5. If the sampled value is minus 0.5, output will be minus 0.5. If the sampled value is minus 1.5, output will be minus 1.5 only. Okay. So anything lies in this interval has to be quantized to the minus 1.5. That is the only blind rule. Okay. Now, suppose I have taken this red color star. It lies above the limits of the quantizer. As I told you, x maximum, x minimum are the limits of the quantizer, or these are the maximum amplitude over which this quantizer will be operating. Now, in this case, what will be the output? Here, let us take this is the value 3. It is out of more than 2, no? 3, let us take. What happens? So, this 3 also quantized to, what is the nearest value? This is 3, that is sampled value is 3. So, to this 3, what is the nearest quantization level? 1.5 only. Correct? So, 3 also will be quantized to 1.5. If it is, let us take there is a value of 10. Let us take there is a quantized value of 10. What happens? To the 10, to the value of 10, what is the nearest quantization level? 1.5. So, it will be also quantized to 1.5 only. So, if anything present more than 2, if any value that is more than 2, everything will be quantized to 1.5 only. Okay. So, these things should not happen, but if at all there are values more than 2, they will be quantized to 1.5 only. But, so in general, we don't consider any values out of these ranges, which means above 2, below minus 2. We restrict ourselves to minus 2 to plus 2. These are the limits of the quantizer. We always try to operate in these limits only. But if at all, by mistake, any value that is present which is more than 2, it will be quantized to the 1.5. Same thing here. If it is minus 3 here, what happens? It will be quantized to minus 1.5 only. Okay, that is for your understanding. Now, so this is a final table which tells you everything about the quantization. Okay. Now, so first sampled value is 1. Correct? It is quantized to what value? I told you already. This is 1. Quantized to what value? 1.5. Quantized to 1.5. What is the error? What is error? What is the quantization error? X minus x cube, sampled value minus quantized value, 1 minus 1 minus 1.5 minus 0.5. Clear? Next, what is next sample? 1.38. It is where it is 1.38 here. So it lies in the fourth interval. It is quantized to what value? 1.5. So it is quantized to 1.38, quantized to 1.5. What is error? 1.38 minus 1.5 minus 0.12. Okay. Now before that, one more thing. So if it is 1.5, it is encoded as 11. Okay, I have written. So it lies in the, it is quantized to 1.5, corresponding encoding is 11. It is also quantized to 1.5, corresponding encode is also 11. Okay. Minus 0.2, where it lies? This is the sample value. It lies in the second interval. So it is quantized to minus 0.5. Quantized to minus 0.5. What is the error? 0.3. So it is, it belongs to minus 0.5. What is the corresponding bit for minus 0.5? So for minus 0.5, what is the encoding bit? 01. Encoding bit is 01. Here I have written 01. Okay. Now, so let us take minus 1.6. The last sample. It is quantized to minus 1.5. What is the error? Minus 0.5. So what is the code word for minus 1.5? 00. So minus 1.5 will be encoded as 00. Okay, this is 00. Now here, so I have taken these last 3 columns only for explanation purpose. Okay. Now if it is 1.5, as I told you just now, if it is 1.5, it lies in the fourth interval. So if it is quantized to 1.5, so 1.5 quantized to 1.5, there is no error. Okay. Now if it is, it will be encoded as what? 1.5 means what is encoding for 1.5? 11. It is encoded as 11. You can write if you want. Okay. 3, just now I told you. If it is 3 is there, it is quantized to 1.5. 3, 1.5. What is error? You can calculate error. It is more, which is, error will be more here. So here you can find out corresponding encoding bit. 2. Okay. So what is 2? It lies exactly on the boundary. Correct? So if it is 2 is the sampled value, what is the quantized value? 1.5 only. Because for 2, the nearest quantization level is 1.5. Okay. Now it is 1.5 only. What is the error? 0.5. So you can write corresponding code word. Now here, so I am writing I have taken how many samples? 4 samples. What are they? 1, 1.38, minus 0.2, 1.6. So these are extra I have taken for explanation purpose. So if you go back, these are samples that are present in the signal. So these are samples I have taken for explanation purpose. Okay, 4 samples only. That's why I am writing for only 4 values. So these are the 4 values I have taken, 4 samples I have taken. Okay, please. So these are the 4 sample values I have taken, and these are the 4 quantized values, and these are the 4 error, and these are the 4 encoding bits. Now if I write all of them together, 1 1 1 1 0 1 0 0, this will be your finally obtained digital data. Now here, so I can say that if this is the analog signal that you are giving, and this is the corresponding digital signal you are getting. Okay, so analog signal is something like this, whereas the digital data will be a sequence of ones and zeros. Okay, this is simply about analog to digital converter. But here we should talk about something like what is a minimum quantization error. Observe here, we have 4 errors, 4 to 5 errors. So what is the minimum error here? Minus 0.5. But what is delta equal to? 1. What is delta equal to? Delta equal to 1. Delta equal to 1. So here, so minus 0.5 means minus delta by 2. I can write like this. So the minimum quantization error is minus delta by 2. What is the maximum error? 0.5. So in general I am talking, you take any general signal, so the maximum error is 0.5 here. So it will be 0.5 means 1 by 2, that is delta by 2. Okay. So this is very very important for any signal, not only for this signal, any signal, always the quantization error lies between minus delta by 2 plus delta by 2. Okay. What is delta? Step size. This is very very important. Okay. So for any uniform quantizer, the quantization error always lies between minus delta by 2 plus delta by 2. So this is about sampling and quantizing and encoding. They simply call it as a ADC. I have taken a simple example to show how ADC converts an analog signal to digital signal. Okay. Now the last one is very very important. You must remember this. Okay. Right. Thank you. We stop here.